PR Connections Radio presents
Hello, Golden Knights fans, and welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub Recap here on Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. Now, what we do here on this show is that we like to give you a half-hour recap on every single game the Vegas Golden Knights are doing on the 2023-2024 NHL season. And this will be their recap against the Chicago Blackhawks on Friday, October 27th, 2023, at the T-Mobile Arena, at the Fortress, as they did on Friday. Now, this is going to be a fantastic episode for everybody watching all around the world. And very quickly, I want to say to everyone watching all around the world, here on prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media, go to the website, PR Connections Radio, check out all the content that we have on the network. We have about a dozen shows on PR Connections Radio. Fantastic content is on here. So go to prconnectionsradio.com and support the channel and the network. If you want to, speaking of channels, go to the YouTube channel, PR Connections Radio, or just at PR Connections. We upload every show to the network. We have playlists. We have a variety of options on PR Connections Radio YouTube channel. We also upload every single show of Vegas Hockey Hub onto the PR Connections Radio YouTube channel. So if you want to subscribe there, I highly recommend doing so and subscribing to the network. I will also say to the Vegas Hockey Hub YouTube channel, where I post content every single day. If you want to like this video and share it to all your friends around the world, it definitely helps out the channel. So go to Vegas Hockey Hub, go to the YouTube channel, and if you want to like the video and share it to all your friends, that would be amazing. And then lastly, go to the social media pages. If you want to go to Vegas Hockey Hub, it is at Vegas Hockey Hub. We are on all social medias. We live tweet during each Vegas Golden Knights game. We live tweet the event. We've been doing that ever since last year. We're continuing to do it now, year 2 of us doing it. We also are all on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We are everywhere at Vegas Hockey Hub. And if you want to follow your host, you can follow me at Ian Rachiele18. Right down there is the link below. So getting into the recap show, talking about the Chicago Blackhawks Vegas Golden Knights game here on Vegas Hockey Hub. I want to quickly mention to everyone in Nevada, happy Nevada Day to everyone who's watching the show. Yes, for people here in Las Vegas, you already know about Nevada Day. The Vegas Golden Knights were wearing special warm-up jerseys that were signed and actually auctioned off. Then those were the Nevada Day uniforms. Interesting enough, the Henderson Silver Knights did a very similar situation. They wore special Nevada Day uniforms out there in Henderson. We'll quickly talk about them later in the show. But yeah, happy Nevada Day. Vegas Golden Knights wore special uniforms. The Henderson Silver Knights wore special uniforms on Happy Nevada Day. And news that happened before the game kicked off, defenseman Alex Pietrangelo returns to the lineup. After getting injured and missing 6 games for the Vegas Golden Knights, Alex Pietrangelo, Petro, has finally came back and returned to the lineup for the Vegas Golden Knights. That means that now Alex Pietrangelo and Alec Martinez are back as your first-line defense here for the Vegas Golden Knights. Brayden McNabb, Shea Theodore back on the second defensive pairing. And then you had Caden Korzak and Nick Hague as your third defensive pairing for your Vegas Golden Knights. So Alex Pietrangelo coming back definitely makes the Vegas Golden Knights better. We actually got to see him in action. Yes, he's a little rusty first game coming back, but the more he plays, Alex Pietrangelo is going to be a big upgrade, a big advantage to your Vegas Golden Knights. So after missing 6 games with an injury, Alex Pietrangelo returns to the lineup. And then Nick Waugh, as one person comes in, another person gets taken out. After his injury in the recent game against the Philadelphia Flyers, Nick Waugh is out for this game. And it looks like he's going to be out for the LA game as well. So because Nick Waugh got injured, they need a 4th-line center. So in an interesting chain of events for the Vegas Golden Knights before the game kicked off, they announced what the lines were going to be, and they made some notable changes. The first line stayed the same, Barbashev, Eichel, and Marchessault. But Paul Cotter would be the second line left wing, replacing Brett Howden. It would be Cotter. It would be Stone and Stevenson. The third line would end up being Pavel Dorofeev, who'd be coming back into the lineup for your Vegas Golden Knights. So Pavel Dorofeev would replace Cotter on the third line as the left wing. Then you have William Karlsson and Michael Amadio. And then on the fourth line to replace Nick Waugh would be Brett Howden. So Brett Howden, who started the year as a second line left wing, they made him the fourth line center to team up with Keane Kolesar and William Carrier. So Pavel Dorofeev back in the lineup. Howden goes down to the fourth line, and Paul Cotter gets promoted to the second line. And in net for the Vegas Golden Knights, who was 4-0 to begin the season, was Adin Hill. You know, Adin Hill did exceptional the first 4 games. His starting goaltender for the Vegas Golden Knights. It made a lot of sense that Adin Hill would be in the net for the Vegas Golden Knights. And before we start to break down the game and everything, I have a small little rant I need to do real quick. Okay, the NHL broadcast, I need to bring something to your attention because I don't know if you know this, but Connor Bedard is not the only player on the Blackhawks. Oh my goodness. Throughout this entire game, they just kept panning over to Connor Bedard. It felt like every couple of minutes. Like anytime there was a highlight, anytime there was a play, anytime there was a stoppage, it felt like all they wanted to do was pan over to Connor Bedard. And I get it. Connor Bedard is the future face of the NHL. They think he's the next McDavid. I understand that. But you have some really skilled people on the Chicago Blackhawks. You have Seth Jones on that roster. You have guys like Korchinski, who is a good defenseman, a young defenseman. He's on the roster. It kind of baffles me that the Chicago Blackhawks have some talent on the roster, but it felt like every 90 seconds they wanted to talk about Connor Bedard. Every 90 seconds they wanted to show Connor Bedard. If there was a play, they would have to have Connor Bedard in the frame somewhere. So yeah, I just had a small little rant about this because it didn't really irritate me as much when they faced Chicago in the United Center because I understood it. I understood that he's in the United Center. He's playing in Chicago. It made sense for it to happen. But you're playing in Vegas. And it kind of just irritated me that it felt like every 90 to 120 seconds, Connor Bedard was being shoved in your face or being mentioned or being named. And I don't know if it was just me. Anybody in the comments, you can let me know down below. But it just kind of irritated me a little bit how they just kept coming back to Connor Bedard like he was the only player the Chicago Blackhawks had. Like, it pretty much felt like it was Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. You know, kind of like how it was Diana Ross and the Supremes. Or how it was, you know, Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5. Like, no. It isn't just Connor Bedard. It's all 20 players on the Blackhawks. It's not just him. Anyway, let's get into the game because I wanted to talk about that very quickly. 90 seconds into the game, the guy who got brought in to replace Nick Waugh in the starting lineup, Pavel Dorofeev, with his first goal of the season for the Vegas Golden Knights. Michael Amadio and William Karlsson with the assist. I will say this was a nice setup by Amadio. Karlsson did pretty well in the setup. And then Dorofeev with the nice in and out to make it a 1-0 game. Quick side note, very recently, Pavel Dorofeev celebrated a birthday. So I want to say to Pavel Dorofeev, late happy birthday to Pavel Dorofeev. That was on Twitter a couple of days ago. Just wanted to very quickly mention that. So the late birthday boy, Pavel Dorofeev, brought up to the Vegas Golden Knights, put on the third line alongside Amadio and Karlsson, scores the first goal of the game, not even 90 seconds into the game. And then 2 minutes later, on the same line, by the way, William Karlsson, Wild Bill, scores his third goal of the season, assisted by Braden McNabb and by Shea Theodore to make it a 2-0 game for the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, I have been giving credit where credit is due. William Karlsson has elevated his game the last 2 years. William Karlsson kind of looked like he was in limbo for a couple of years. William Karlsson seemed like a guy that was kind of just stuck in neutral for a while. So, thankfully, the last 2 seasons, William Karlsson has turned it around. He has been the guy he was in the first 2 years that he was in the NHL. So, I will say for William Karlsson scoring the goal, making it 2-0 for the Vegas Golden Knights, that was a good job by them. And before anybody asks, by the way, I will say when it comes to William Karlsson, yes, I am aware of the fact that William Karlsson right now is, I think, 3rd in the team in points. Because you have Jack Eichel, he leads the team in points. I know Shea Theodore, he's got to be 2nd. He's up there. And then I would say Karlsson. So I say that it's Jack, Shea, and Will are probably 1, 2, and 3 when it comes to the total points for the Vegas Golden Knights this year. William Karlsson, 9 points on the year. Like I said, incredible job for William Karlsson. Right now, averaging over a point per game for the Vegas Golden Knights. Just want to give props to him there. And then towards the middle of the first period, Ryan Donato actually scores for the Chicago Blackhawks. And I will say for Ryan Donato, this was somebody who's kind of been passed around in the NHL. He has really been a journeyman of sorts over the last couple of years, and he's kind of had a turnaround for the Chicago Blackhawks. He's had about 4 points in this season, and funny enough, he had a point in the game when Vegas went to Chicago, so he had a goal in this game as well. So Ryan Donato, pretty special, I will say about that. Like I said, he has been a journeyman. He was in Boston. He was in Minnesota. He was in Chicago now. It's just kind of interesting how he's been on like 5 different teams and finally got his footing here in Chicago. So I want to give props to Ryan Donato real quick just for doing that. Now, getting back to the game itself, Corey Wyatt Kaiser with the assist, making it a 2-1 game, cutting it to a 1-goal deficit for the Vegas Golden Knights. And by the way, Corey Perry, Anaheim Ducks legend, 39-year-old Corey Perry. And then, of course, you have the young Wyatt Kaiser on defense, another young guy that the media should be talking about, not just Connor Bedard. And then not even a minute and a half later, the Chicago Blackhawks would tie up the game by, who else? Connor Bedard. He'd be assisted by Alex Vlasic and Nick Foligno. And instead of me just describing the goal to you, let's roll the clip and show you what happened with the Connor Bedard goal to make it a 2-2 game for Chicago Blackhawks.
Marchessault looking, spins and shoots it down the middle, picked off by Vlasic. He'll snap it out. Foligno racing after it, pokes it towards Bedard, and he scores! Connor Bedard up.
And there you go, Connor Bedard with the goal, making it his 3rd goal of the season. And I'm going to say, when it comes to Connor Bedard, look, obviously, congratulations to him, the face of the franchise out there in Chicago, the number 1 overall pick from this year. And yeah, Connor Bedard, a good play by them. I will say Vlasic did pretty well. Foligno with the pass to get it set up for Connor Bedard. And before we get into the second period, I do want to address this comment real quick because I do think it is true. The defense looked very lax. The defense in this game was very relaxed. There really wasn't a lot we could talk about positively on defense. Now, Pietrangelo had an excuse because Pietrangelo, just coming back from injury, he had an excuse there. Martinez, people want to say that he might still be injured. He's trying to play into the injury. I get that. Maybe that's an excuse as well. But Shea Theodore did not look good tonight defensively. Now, obviously, we know what he did later in the game, but the first 2 periods, Shea Theodore did not look good defensively. Nick Hague and Caden Korczak, they didn't look like they were as energized as they normally are. Nick Hague and Caden Korczak seemed like they were kind of just there. They existed for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, yeah, that comment does make a lot of sense. It is true that when it came to the Vegas Golden Knights, the defense, the energy just was not there for the Vegas Golden Knights. And I will mention the second period, nothing happened in this game in the second period. There was no goals. There was no really any big opportunities on either team in the second period. In fact, the only two things that happened was a hooking penalty on Philip Kurashev and a slashing penalty on Connor Murphy. So the Vegas Golden Knights went 0 for 2 on the power play in the second period. As a matter of fact, the Vegas Golden Knights in the game went 0 for 4 on the power play. And I know some people are gonna overlook this, but the Vegas Golden Knights on the power play are not the same this year. Now they've had 1 or 2 goals, good for them, but it seems like the Vegas Golden Knights are just not great on the power play. They don't do as much as they should on the power play. And the only reason why I can mention this and I can bring this up is because when you have the power play situation, Jack Eichel has had 2 power play goals. Fantastic for him. But when I look at the Vegas Golden Knights, they have had 6 power play goals this season. And when you sit here and you analyze that from just a 5,000-foot view, 6 power play goals sound amazing. You know, having 6 power play goals, that sounds like something that's amazing, right? That's great. That is something that everyone would love to have. But then you realize that the Vegas Golden Knights right now, they have had 6 power play goals. However, they only have a power play percentage of 24%. That means that they only score on the power play a little under a quarter of the time, which is not really a great thing for them. Now, what gives a positive to the Vegas Golden Knights is their 90% penalty kill. Okay? Their penalty kill is at 90%. They are in the top 5 when it comes to the penalty kill for the Vegas Golden Knights. To me, it's just a situation where the Golden Knights, unfortunately, having a 25% power play, I look at it as kind of abysmal. Whereas the New Jersey Devils, for example, are at 40% on the power play. So you have the New Jersey Devils, who are among the best at the power play, around 40% successful. The Golden Knights are only around a quarter successful on the power play. So, yeah, that's something I just wanted to address real quick. The Vegas Golden Knights, 0 for 4 on the power play. They're about a quarter of the they only have about a 24% success rate on the power play, your Vegas Golden Knights. And as we get into the last period of the game, the third period of the game, Tyler Radish with his second goal of the season for the Chicago Blackhawks. He made it a 3-2 game. Now, I will give credit to the Chicago Blackhawks social media team because when he scored the goal, they had the Chicago scored, and then they had Taylor's version on it. Which for anybody who's a Swiftie or anyone who's a Taylor Swift fan, you will know that she's put out albums with Taylor's version on the side. So that's kind of interesting that the social media team for Chicago Blackhawks paid kind of a nice little reference to it by having Tyler Radish score a goal and then have Taylor's version on the social media page. That was kind of nice there. Now, 10 minutes later in the game, one of the most clutch offensive guys the Vegas Golden Knights have, Shea Theodore, with his third goal of the season, his second game in a row where he scored a goal that mattered to the Vegas Golden Knights. Nice assist by Jack Eichel to tie up the game with 11 minutes and 28 seconds. And the Vegas Golden Knights had some opportunities in the last 9 minutes of the game. There was some good opportunities. For example, Jonathan Marchessault had an opportunity with a few minutes left, and it just went a bit wide from Peter Mrazek. And then they go into overtime. And this is the part that stings as a Vegas Golden Knights fan. This would sting as somebody who follows the Vegas Golden Knights. As with 2 minutes into the overtime, and after having a penalty for the Vegas Golden Knights in overtime, there was an unfortunate situation where the Vegas Golden Knights suffered a penalty, and the Chicago Blackhawks took advantage of it. Philip Kurashev with the overtime goal on the power play to win it for the Chicago Blackhawks and make it a 4-3. So for a 4-3 game, Chicago Blackhawks would win by a goal by Philip Kurashev. And I will say William Karlsson having the tripping penalty against Connor Bedard. Some people are going to try to argue it. Some people are going to try to go against it. The moral of the story is William Karlsson tripped Connor Bedard, created a power play opportunity, and the Chicago Blackhawks, unlike the Golden Knights, scored on the power play and beat the Golden Knights in overtime. Now, these statistics on this game, the Chicago Blackhawks outshot the Golden Knights 24-21. The Golden Knights had one more hit than the Blackhawks did, 21-20. The Chicago Blackhawks had triple the amount of penalty minutes that the Vegas Golden Knights had. You also have to mention the Golden Knights had 61% of the faceoffs won in this game, and the Blackhawks had one power play opportunity and went 1 for 1. The Golden Knights had 4 power play opportunities and went 0 for 4. So I will say for the Golden Knights, it's just an interesting situation. Also, when you look at the giveaways, the Vegas Golden Knights had 14 giveaways where the Blackhawks had 4. So that kind of tells you the sloppy play the Golden Knights had tonight. That they had 14 giveaways by the Vegas Golden Knights. And they only had 5 takeaways. So the Golden Knights only had 5 opportunities where they took the puck away from the Blackhawks. Whereas they've had 14 giveaways and created opportunities for Chicago to put the puck in the back of the net. So I will say for this game that it was mid. This wasn't a great game. This wasn't a bad game. This wasn't a good game. This wasn't a terrible game. I'm just going to call it what it is. It is a mid game, okay? This game was mid. The Vegas Golden Knights losing doesn't surprise me, considering the lack of energy they had on defense, the lack of power play success, and the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights, for really the first time all year, seemed like they were not the dominant team in this game. I mean, the first period had a lot of us fooled. Like, when they scored 2 goals within the first 5 minutes, a lot of us were saying, oh, it's going to be an easy win. It's going to be a dominant victory. But then when Connor Bedard and Ryan Donato scored the Chicago Blackhawks and tied it up in the first period, it just felt like the Golden Knights kind of lost that energy there. And some people noticed it, some people didn't. But for the Vegas Golden Knights, it just seemed like this was just a mid game. This is going to be a game that really no one's going to remember outside of the fact that this was the first loss the Golden Knights suffered this year. Like, I don't think most people are going to go back and rewatch this game. There's going to be people who are going to rewatch the Seattle Kraken game, the first game of the season. They'll rewatch that over and over again. I wouldn't be shocked if people rewatch the Shea Theodore game-winning goal against the Philadelphia Flyers. Or people would watch the Paul Cotter between the legs that he did against Philadelphia. Or the Jack Eichel play he did against Anaheim with a few seconds left on the clock to score a goal. I mean, there's going to be some moments this year that you're going to go back and watch. But in all honesty, and this is only a few hours removed, it just seems like this game, there really wasn't much that you would kind of take away from it. There really wasn't a lot that you would look back in hindsight and say, oh, yeah, I remember from this moment from the Blackhawks game. It just seems like it's just kind of a mid game for the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, we've been doing this every single game recap, and we will do it even during a loss. The player of the game has to go to Shea Theodore. This was a guy who had some really good opportunities. He had 1 goal, the game-tying goal for the Vegas Golden Knights, and he had that assist early in the game where he assisted William Karlsson on the second goal. So he assisted William Karlsson, and he had a goal late in the game. Shea Theodore definitely would be the player of the game, the bright spot from this loss against Chicago. And Philip Kurashev, I'm going to give props to him, by the way, because this was a guy who took advantage of an opportunity. This guy, 24 years old, part of the youth movement here in Chicago, someone who definitely should be getting attention by the Vegas Golden Knights and by the rest of the league, but nobody's going to really be paying him much attention because of Connor Bedard. I mean, this is a Philip Kurashev who had 9 goals last year and had 25 points for the Chicago Blackhawks, and he has just gotten better and better and better every year he's been in the league. I mean, this is a guy that had only 8 goals and 16 points in his rookie year. Then he had 6 goals and 21 points in his sophomore year. Then last year, 9 goals and 25 points. And now this year, he has actually had a 1 point in 2 games for the Chicago Blackhawks. So I will say for Philip Kurashev, this is a young guy, 24 years old, who's earning his chops, earning his stripes as a Chicago Blackhawk. And I will say props to him. Good goal by him in overtime. He took advantage of the opportunity. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he does alongside Connor Bedard and alongside all the young guys the Blackhawks have on that team. So as we are doing our recap show here on Vegas Hockey Hub on PR Connections Radio, as we've been recapping the Blackhawks and Golden Knights game, I mentioned earlier that I would talk about the Henderson Silver Knights for just a quick minute, and indeed we are going to. So the Henderson Silver Knights, the last 2 games have been busy. Oh boy, they have been busy. So the Henderson Silver Knights on Wednesday beat the San Jose Barracuda 4-3 in overtime to go to 5-1 on the year. And then on Friday, on Nevada Day, they played an afternoon game at home in Henderson, and they would lose 4-1 against the Ontario Reign. Unfortunately, this was not a great game for the Henderson Silver Knights, despite wearing special uniforms for the Nevada Day situation. But yeah, the Henderson Silver Knights, the only benefit and the only thing I would say that was positive in this one was Alex Sletnikov made his AHL debut and scored a goal for the Henderson Silver Knights. So in his debut, Sweaty, as they would say, Alex Svetlikov, he would have his AHL debut and score a goal. So props to him. He would have assists from Patrick Gay, and Jake Bischoff, the captain, would have an assist on the play. So congratulations to him on having his first goal. And even though the Golden Knights lost on this, and even though the Silver Knights lost 4-1, they did have some jerseys that were being made, specialty jerseys for the Henderson Silver Knights, and they're actually being auctioned off to benefit the Henderson Silver Knights Foundation. So regardless of where they are on the website or anything like that, if you want to be part of the auction and you want to win their Nevada Day jerseys for the Henderson Silver Knights, it benefits the Henderson Silver Knights Foundation. So I recommend going there and actually placing bids if you want to on these specialty jerseys for the Henderson Silver Knights. They're nice looking jerseys, by the way. I will point that out. I actually thought it was quite impressive how they built the jerseys. So I will say for the Henderson Silver Knights, they lost 4-1. Blackhawks lost 4-3. Now, what is next for both teams? Vegas Golden Knights are going to go to Staples Center. They're going to go to LA. They're going to take on the LA Kings tomorrow night. And we're actually going to do a recap show a half hour after the game ends. Once again, a half hour after the game ends, they're going to be doing a recap show here on Vegas Hockey Hub on PR Connections Radio, the voice of new media. And the Henderson Silver Knights will be doing a game on Sunday in Henderson against the San Diego Gulls, the AHL affiliate of the Anaheim Ducks. And then very quickly, we want to go to Twitter real quick because I do want to pay some attention to this. I want to give credit to everyone who was part of the poll question that we did. And the poll question was, are the Vegas Golden Knights going to improve to 8-0? 78% of you said yes, 4% of you said C, and 17% of you said we. So 17% said we, 4% said C, and 78% of you said yes. So thanks for being part of the poll question. And the Vegas Golden Knights, since the All-Star break, have been 47-8-7. That would be a 134-point pace. They would have over 200 goals, only 140 goals against. That would be a goal differential of plus 77. So yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights have done pretty impressive since the All-Star break. And I want to give props to Jack Eichel, him having an assist on the Shea Theodore goal. made the second fastest player in franchise history to record 100 points. The fastest player, by the way, was Wild Bill William Karlsson. He was the fastest player to record 100 points as a Golden Knight. So for the Vegas Golden Knights, I will say they did lose to the Blackhawks tonight, but hopefully the Kings game will be better. So this is Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And until next time, continue watching hockey, go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go.